Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. And I hope everybody that celebrated Thanksgiving yesterday had a wonderful day with their family, friends, or whomever. I hope you had a fantastic holiday, but today we do have some interesting things happening within the game industry, especially within one specific region. It does look like Xbox has made a major turnaround over in Japan, while a Nintendo game had a massive launch. Even PlayStation had some interesting things happening over there, as it almost seems like they are prioritizing Japan less and less as the generation is going by. So we're going to go over all of that today, plus, of course, plenty more. To get things started off today, though, we are going to be talking about CD Projekt Red, the studio behind The Witcher and then Cyberpunk 2077. Now, obviously, this is an incredibly talented studio. The Witcher 3 is often viewed as one of, if not the very best RPG to ever be made. It is one of the most beloved games that's released within the last decade. And then, of course, you have Cyberpunk 2077, which was highly ambitious, but it has been heavily criticized for all of the different issues it's had since it launched. So because of all of the issues when it comes to Cyberpunk, there has been some speculation about CD Projekt Red and the possibility of them being acquired. With the troubled state that they've been in over the last year, there has been speculation that they could end up being an acquisition target. Even DFC Intelligence did state that this could be possible. However, CD Projekt Red has now officially responded. And let's just go and check out what they had to say. We have been saying for years that we plan to remain independent and do not plan to become part of a larger entity. We are also not looking for a strategic investor. So there you have it. CD Projekt Red is absolutely not looking to be acquired by anybody, and really, I think this makes a lot of sense. I know that they do often pop up in acquisition rumors and everything, but they've had a lot of success being an independent studio. Not only has the Witcher franchise been insanely successful, but even Cyberpunk 2077, regardless of its launch issues, it did sell really well initially, and it does seem like that they expect this game to sell well over time. They did also state this: we believe that in the long run, Cyberpunk 2077 will be perceived as a very good game, and like our other titles, it will sell for years, especially as the hardware gets more powerful over time and we improve the game. And okay, they do believe that this game will have some long-term success, and I believe that it could possibly have a successful second launch. I know it might not ever meet the lofty expectations that a lot of fans had with this game, but this overall was a good game if you can look past all the bugs and issues that it had. So if they do bring this game over to the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5, and it has a better launch this time, yeah, I could see some people picking it up because it does have a good story. It's got an interesting and atmospheric world, and it's overall a fun game. So I could see them having success with this game in the long term. However, it doesn't seem like they're in dire need to be acquired or to partner up with somebody else or anything like that. It does seem like that they still have plans for Cyberpunk going forward, and of course they also probably have plans for the Witcher franchise as well. So I would expect some big games to release from them over the generation. Now, we also need to talk about a PlayStation game being Uncharted Legacy of Thieves, which is the collection for Uncharted 4 and then The Lost Legacy. They did announce this collection earlier this year and that it will release on PC and PlayStation 5 sometime in 2022. But interestingly enough, it now does seem like this collection will be missing one key game mode, and that is its multiplayer. Yes, the multiplayer component appears to not be included with the Legacy of Thieves collection. This is according to a new ESRB classification that states the upcoming release has no interactive elements. Now, according to them, they do say that the interactive elements includes online features such as users' ability to interact with each other. So if it does not have this, there is a possibility that this collection will not have its multiplayer component. Now, keep in mind that none of this is confirmed just yet, so there's still hope, but if this does turn out to be true, I know that's going to be disappointing for some fans out there. While Uncharted's main attraction is easily its single-player component, there are some real fans of its multiplayer as well. This has been the case really since the PlayStation 3 days. There has been a part of the fan base that really enjoys the multiplayer component of this game, so I know for for those fans out there, this will be a little disappointing, again, if it turns out to be true. This actually kind of reminds me a little bit of the faction situation with The Last of Us. That's another Naughty Dog game, which of course its main attraction is its single player component, but there was also a real dedicated fan base for factions. So a lot of people wanted that to return to The Last of Us Part 2, but it did launch without its multiplayer. Now, of course, they still are working on a multiplayer game mode. It just hasn't released just yet. Nonetheless, we'll kind of see what all happens with this, and I will update you if we do find out anything further about the multiplayer game mode when it comes to Uncharted: A Legacy of Thieves. Moving on, though, we do have some very interesting things happening over in Japan. Some sales numbers did come out this week thanks to the Famitsu charts, and really there's some interesting things happening with Nintendo, Xbox, and PlayStation. Now, we'll kind of first take a look here at Nintendo because check this out. Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl got off to a massive start. Yeah, in just the first 3 days over in Japan, and this is only the physical sales, Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl sold 1,395,000 units. Yeah, that is absolutely crazy, but to just kind of put that into perspective, this is the second biggest launch for the Nintendo Switch in Japan. The only game that has sold faster than this would be Animal Crossing New Horizons, and as we all know, that game has been absolutely insane ever since it launched. But this does mean that Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl outsold Pokemon Sword and Shield in the same time frame. And that is quite impressive for quite a few different reasons. One being this is actually a remake rather than a completely new installment, so it is a little bit surprising to see it outpace Sword and Shield this early on. Now, that doesn't mean that it will outsell Sword and Shield in the long run, but this is still an incredible start. And I mean, after this game took as much criticism as it did since it was announced, it just makes it even more impressive. I said this earlier this week, but we are starting to see something within the Pokemon community, or at the very least, the Pokemon community on the internet. And that is that with all of these Pokemon games that have been announced in recent years, has been heavily criticized on the internet, and certain people, quote unquote, are boycotting this game. And then these games come out and just have a massive amount of success. We saw the same thing happen with Pokemon Sword and Shield. Fans heavily criticized that game. They wanted it to change and evolve, and then people were boycotting it. And then guess what? It ended up being the best-selling Pokemon game since Pokemon Silver and Gold. And now here we have Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. This one was heavily criticized for its art style in specific, which, by the way, looks really good in person. I was very impressed by the art style in this one in person, but that's besides the point. This game, once again, was heavily criticized, and now that it's actually out, Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl is already the second fastest selling game over in Japan. That is extremely impressive, and I think it just kind of shows you that maybe this vocal part of the Pokemon community doesn't necessarily speak for the entire community. There's really just a lot of people out there that love the Pokemon formula, and I know that it's easy to kind of focus on the negative discussion that surrounds these games, as usual. I mean, anytime that there's a negative discussion, that tends to draw a lot of attention, and I think that that's kind of been the case with Pokemon for a while. People are kind of drawn to that part of the discussion, and then they kind of ignore all of the love that these games get as well, both online and offline for that matter. Once again, though, the Pokemon franchise has had yet another massive launch, and it really just goes to show you that this franchise is not slowing down at all. Now, it does kind of have me wondering, though, how Pokemon Legends Arceus will do, because that game is completely different. Here we have a remake game that really sticks to that classic formula, and it sold extremely well. So I definitely want to see how Legends Arceus, which is completely different, I want to see how that fares. Not only with the short term, though, but I want to see how well Legends Arceus does in the long term. This is an ambitious title, and it is quite a bit different, so I want to see how the Pokemon community reacts to this one, and how will it sell compared to Pokemon Sword and Shield, which has already surpassed 22 million units worldwide. So I'm definitely curious how that one will turn out. But yes, definitely a great start for Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Now, something else interesting that's happening over in Japan is actually with Xbox. And this is something that we've talked about a few different times on the channel, but Xbox has made a major turnaround this generation with the Xbox Series over in Japan. If you take a look back last generation, the Xbox One was a bit of a failure over in Japan, to say the least, and over its lifetime, it sold roughly 115,000 units in Japan. That is not very good, but if you take a look at the Xbox Series here, the Xbox Series from November 15th to November 21st sold 2,203 Xbox Series X's, and then the Xbox Series S sold 1,219 units. This puts the Xbox Series lifetime units over in Japan at 122,137 units. That means that the Xbox Series has now completely outsold the Xbox One lifetime over in Japan. And actually, it looks like this happened a few weeks back, which means that the Xbox Series outsold the Xbox One lifetime in Japan in less than 1 year. That is an amazing turnaround by Xbox. I mean, they basically went from being non-existent over in Japan to having a real fan base there in less than 1 year. So they really are doing a great job over in Japan. And I know if you compare it to PlayStation 5's total units sold or the Nintendo Switch, it doesn't look near as impressive, but you can't really compare it to those two platforms. They are well established in Japan, whereas Xbox is not. So the fact that they are establishing themselves right now, that is what you're kind of looking at. And it looks like that they do have a real market in Japan this time around. And that's the thing, because I've pointed this out in the past, but that is great news for everybody worldwide. Anybody who likes Japanese games, this is good news, because with it being more successful in Japan, that means less Japanese games will skip out on Xbox. This is something that Xbox has really improved in recent years, especially with the addition of Xbox Game Pass. Xbox Game Pass has gotten more Japanese publishers on board with releasing their games on Xbox. We've seen that with Bandai Namco, we've seen that with Square Enix, we've seen it with Sega, and the list just kind of goes on and on. Games like Final Fantasy, Nier, Yakuza, we just got Scarlet Nexus, Tales of Arise. These games are now coming over to Xbox. Dragon Quest has finally made its way over to Xbox, and yes, we are starting to see more of these Japanese games release on Xbox, but at the same time, it still misses out on some of the more niche titles. Games like Disgaea and Neo: The World Ends With You, these games still skip out on Xbox. So not everything is perfect over there, but if they do have more success in Japan, there is more of a possibility that these games will release on Xbox in the future. So even if you aren't located in Japan, this is one reason that you want to root for them to have success over in that region. One other interesting thing with the results for this week, though, is actually with the PlayStation 5, because it's increasingly looking like Sony is prioritizing Japan less and less as the generation goes by. As you can see here, the PlayStation 5 sold 4,134 units in Japan, while the PlayStation 5 Digital Edition sold 173 units. That's not actually that much better than the Xbox Series. Now, PlayStation has a total of like 900,000 units sold in Japan lifetime, but nonetheless, this does show you that it looks like Sony is stocking Japan less right now, which means that they are prioritizing other regions more. Places like the United States, UK as an example, they actually started to fly cargo out to places like the UK, so that means that they are prioritizing those places much more. Now, the reason I think that this is probably happening is because Xbox is much more of a competitor in those regions, and they want to outsell Xbox in places like the United States and the UK this holiday. So because the competition is much more fierce in places like UK and the United States, I think that that's probably why they're maybe prioritizing regions like that a little bit more than places like Japan. I know it's an unfortunate situation because, I mean, really, it doesn't matter where you live. These consoles are selling out pretty much immediately, so it's always unfortunate. But yes, it does seem like right now, at the very least, PlayStation is prioritizing places like Japan just a little less. Moving on, we do have one more update to go over here just real quick, and that would be with Xbox's DVR functionality. Xbox does have Game DVR, which allows you to record footage within your games, and this is a nifty little feature to have, especially when you want to capture just an epic moment that you had played in a game. Maybe you're playing something like Halo Infinite, and maybe you got an overkill or something like that, and you want to record that feature. Well, you can simply press the share button on your Xbox controller, and it will record your recent footage to show that clip of gameplay to where you can then share it online. However, it sounds like not all fans nor Xbox is actually completely happy with this feature. It does sound like that they do in fact have a little bit more planned for game DVR this generation. Xbox's Director of Program Management, Jason Ronald, did have this to say. I will definitely say that game DVR is the one area, the capture and share experience, that I wish we were able to make more progress on this year than we were able to. It is definitely a priority for us. We definitely hear the feedback. We have made some changes and we have made some improvements to the reliability and the quality of the captures, but we know we still have work to do here. So that is definitely a priority for us and something that we're going to continue to iterate on. So if you were hoping to get some more improvements with game DVR on Xbox, it definitely does seem like that will be the case, hopefully sooner rather than later. It really would be nice if they do continue to improve this though, because I do think that it is a nice feature. It needs a little bit of work, maybe with the quality. I also would like to see them make it a little bit less clunky on the consoles itself. I know that these clips does get sent directly to your phone and you can kind of mess around with them on there, but I'd like to see them improve it on the console side of things as well. But yeah, with this statement here by Jason Ronald, I absolutely would expect some kind of improvements with the game DVR on Xbox. Let's go ahead and take a look at the poll of the day though. Of course, now it is officially the holiday season, and one of the best things about the holidays is all of these great deals across the game industry. And over the last week, there has been some pretty good deals for gaming. A lot of games that really have released even in the last couple months, I've seen for like 50% off. So I decided to ask you all, have you purchased any discounted games during Black Friday week? And if so, how many? And if you take a look here, 45% of you all bought at least one game this Black Friday, while 55% of you did not. 33% of you bought 1 to 3 games, 7% 4 to 6, 2% 7 to 9 games, and then 3% of you bought 10 or more games. Yeah, that is quite the impressive haul there, but yeah, I do think that there is a lot of good deals going on throughout the industry, whether that be digital or physical units. Like I said before, several games that's released relatively recently has been on sale over the last week. I mean, games like Guardians of the Galaxy, which released just last month, it was going for like $25 on Amazon this week. Then games like Deathloop, which released in September, that was 50% off. Lost Judgment and Tales of Arise, both of those released in September, they were on sale this week. And Riders Republic, that was another one that released last month. It was going for like 50% off as well. So a lot of new games are going on sale right now. And really, when you see sales like this, it just kind of makes me wonder, why do I even buy games when they launch anymore, when you see them go on sale like this just a month or two later? It is absolutely crazy. But yeah, the holiday season is definitely here now, and really I hope all of you all have a fantastic holiday this year. Anyways though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.